Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pondering Theories. This is of course your humble host, Troa00S. On today's episode, I'm going to do a fan's request and do 4 theories on a battle between 2 people. I just want to warn you before we go any further there is going to be no actual visual representation of this battle yet. If I find out how to do the animation and stuff, I will try and give my viewers an actual fight. But for now, it's just going to be me talking while pictures of each combatant is on screen. Also, I wanted to throw out the disclaimer out there and say I'm not trying to rip off Screw Attack's death battles. In fact, I would encourage you to go there and check them out. They're pretty awesome. Just go to www.screwattack.com/deathbattles. They have really good fights there with actual animation and awesome fight scenes and an actual budget, unlike me. Anyways, now that we got that out of the way, let's settle down some ground rules before these theoretical battles begin. Rule number 1. There will be no help from anybody unless this is a team matchup, so it's going to be a one-on-one fight. Rule number 2. I will be using characters in their prime with all their official powers and abilities from the entire series they come from, unless I haven't seen it via the time this video goes up. Rule number 3. For the first 2 fights, the combatants will not act out of character, which means if one or both of the combatants or teams would normally kill their enemy, they won't until fight 3 or 4. Fights 3 and 4 will be with all the restraints they have will be removed so they can fight at full power until they kill their opponent or opponents. Rule number 4 is the combatants will only fight with their standard equipment, means no prep time is allowed. And the final rule is rule number 5. I will be taking anime fights with only what is covered in the actual show. I will not be pulling from the manga because more than likely I haven't read it and it would take a long time to get through every quest on anime I might get, so I'm just not going to do it. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and introduce our combatants and give you the information on them. First up is InuYasha, the half-human, half-demon hybrid from the Sengoku era of Japan. InuYasha is the son of a human woman named Izoi, an extremely powerful dog demon and feudal lord named InuYasha. Because of his heritage, InuYasha was gifted with many special powers, but also was cursed with 2 major weaknesses, which we'll get into. InuYasha's powers include super strength, super sense of smell, slightly enhanced speed and agility, super sharp fingernails that can extend and cut through almost anything, and a super healing factor that takes a while but allows him to survive fights and poisonous environments that would kill any human. Besides InuYasha's claws, he also has a fireproof robe called the Robe of the Fire Rat, which is made from the skin of a fire rat demon. Although it is fireproof and keeps the person who wears it warm, it offers no other protection. InuYasha's only other weapon is his father's sword named Tensaiga. The sword is the one of the 3 swords forged from InuYasha's father's fangs. How does that even work? How do you make a sword out of... You know what? Forget it. Back on topic. It's also known as the Sword of Earth. It has the ability to kill 100 demons or people in one swing. The sword is of course demonic and can only be used by a demon who wants to protect people. The sword has many techniques that InuYasha has unlocked and mastered over time. The first and most basic technique is the Wind Scar, which is the one that can kill 100 enemies in one swing. It works by seeing your enemy's aura, and when it combines with your aura, you cut through where they combined, and the Wind Scar is formed. Although eventually InuYasha mastered the sword enough to where he can use it anytime he wants without having to do the whole aura combining thing. The Wind Scar just literally wraps around the tip of the blade itself. The second sword's power is the ability known as the Ren Tensaiga, which turns the sword blade blood red and allows to cut through any demonic barriers. The third and final power, unless there's a new power in the final act DVDs, which I wouldn't know because I haven't seen them yet, is the Adamantium Barrage, which can pierce any holy or demonic barrier with a barrage of adamantium shards. It can also be used to attack with, unlike the Red Tensaiga, which is only useful if your opponent has a demonic barrier, otherwise it's just useless. Despite the fact that InuYasha has unlocked all of the Tensaiga's techniques, he has no formal training of any kind in swordsmanship other than the training on how to use the sword's techniques. He likes to rely solely on his demonic powers, using his super sense of smell to track down his opponents and his super strength to catch up with them and even possibly overtake them and then attack them. With that being said, InuYasha isn't very smart and he doesn't plan out his attacks. Instead, he prefers to just attack head-on rather than think up a strategy. InuYasha is also rather full of himself and doesn't like to admit defeat. His only two major weaknesses are his sense of smell and his human half. If you can overpower InuYasha's super sensitive nose, it will make him pass out. The only other weakness he has is when he turns into a full human on the night of a new moon, which makes him lose all of his powers and makes him unable to change his sword into its demonic form. Next up is Kenshin Himura, the Batosai, which translates out to Manslayer. Kenshin Himura lives in the Meiji era and fought in a war where he became known as a legendary assassin. At the end of the war, he became a wandering samurai. He made a vow after the war that he would never kill again, and to help prevent him accidentally killing people, he had a sword forged for him that is a reverse blade sword. That means that the cutting edge is on the inwardly curved side of the sword, making it nearly incapable of killing someone. But with Kenshin's skills, he could actually pull it off. Kenshin is trained in the Hiten Mitsurugi style. The sword style has allowed Kenshin to push his body past normal limitations, giving him enhanced speed and agility far above any normal humans. Because of his background, he has many years of combat experience and sword mastery that has made him a master tactician. He originally left before his training was complete to go protect the people of Japan. Eventually, though, he went back and finished his training underneath his old ex-master. He seems to have an almost limitless amount of techniques at his disposal. He pulls out new ones all the time, and he has some fan favorite ones, but I'm not going into them. Now, let's do the setup for why these two people would fight. Kenshin is walking through town alone, and the chief of police walks up to him and says that he needs to talk to him. So Kenshin follows him into a tea house and asks the chief what's wrong. He tells Kenshin that a nearby village was attacked and completely destroyed with only one survivor. The chief says that after taking the lone survivor's story down, they went after the individual responsible for this tragedy. But none of his men have come back, so the chief is asking Kenshin for help. Kenshin agrees, so the chief gives him the description of the attacker from the lone survivor's story. The attacker is said to young boy wear a red robe, a sword, and has long white silvery hair, and is also thought to be a demon. The chief says that they tracked the individual to a nearby cave, and that's where he sent his men to go after the culprit, but that was the last bit of information he has received, since whenever he sent them in, they didn't report back, so he believes them to be dead. Kenshin says that he doesn't believe in demons, but he will go alone and confront this murderer since the cave isn't far from here. A while after Kenshin departed, it is discovered that the lone survivor is dead, but when the doctor was called in, he said that there had to be some sort of mistake because, as far as he could tell, the person had been dead for at least 1 day. Yes, my loyal InuYasha fans, that's right. You guessed right, is yet another setup by Naraku to destroy InuYasha, and the survivor was just a corpse that Kagura of the Wind reanimated with her Dance of the Dead to get Kenshin involved in this. Kenshin eventually gets to the cave, only to see a young boy matching the chief's description sitting outside the cave. Kenshin walks up to him and asks him, "Are you the one responsible for destroying this village?" InuYasha responds, "I don't know what you're talking about. Now get lost. I'm busy and I don't have time to talk to you, so go away." Kenshin says that the police chief would like to ask him a few questions, so I'm to escort you back to town. InuYasha says that the police chief wants to talk to him so bad he can do it himself because he's not going anywhere. Kenshin then says, "You have two choices. You can either come back with me willingly, or I drag your unconscious body back to town with me. It's your choice." InuYasha asks him if he is threatening him, and just starts laughing, stating that if he is threatening him, that he stands no chance because he is just a weak little human, and if he doesn't leave now, he's just going to kill him. Kenshin says, "Alright, then have it your way. Draw your sword so we can fight." InuYasha says that he won't need his sword to kill a weak-looking human like him. Kenshin responds that he wouldn't fight an unarmed opponent, so draw your sword. InuYasha just laughs, saying that his claws are more than enough of a match for him to prove it to Kenshin. InuYasha strikes a nearby boulder with his claws, cutting them into pieces. With that out of the way, and Kenshin now willing to fight, let the theoretical battle commence. Theory number 1. InuYasha has always been the impatient one, so he attacks Kenshin using his Iron Reaver Soul Stealer. What does that even mean? Does that mean that They took the Reavers from Firefly, then made them completely out of iron, and then with the extra ability to suck out souls like Shang Tsung. Huh. Interesting choice. Anyways, getting back to topic. InuYasha attacks Kenshin, but with Kenshin's enhanced speed combined with his agility, he dodges InuYasha's attack. Kenshin uses his speed to get behind InuYasha. As soon as he gets behind him, he strikes using the blunt side of his sword, striking InuYasha's attacking arm as hard as he can. InuYasha screams in pain and yells at Kenshin, asking him what the hell did he do to his arm because he can't move it. Kenshin states that he simply broke InuYasha's arm and tells him to give up, otherwise his next attack will be his last one. InuYasha is really mad now and draws his sword and uses his wind scar technique to kill Kenshin. But since he's drawing the sword and using it with his offhand, whenever he uses the Tenseiga to swing, he is off target quite a bit. So it makes it quite easy for Kenshin to dodge the wind scar. After he dodges the blast, he moves in and swings right at InuYasha's neck, full force, knocking InuYasha unconscious. Theory number 2. InuYasha attacks Kenshin but misses Kenshin, but then Kenshin follows up with a counter attack, but he also misses. When InuYasha lands after his attack, he takes one good look at Kenshin's drawn sword and notices that the sword is actually quite dull. After noticing that, he actually attacks Kenshin again, and when Kenshin swings in an overhead motion to strike down InuYasha, InuYasha simply catches the sword with one hand, pulls him close, and then with his free hand uses his Iron Reaver Soul Stealer technique and slashes Kenshin across the chest, doing major damage and knocking Kenshin Himura out through the sheer pain. Theory 3. InuYasha begins his attack by drawing his sword and swinging at Kenshin. Kenshin uses his enhanced agility to dodge the attack. Kenshin then uses his superior speed to quickly close the gap between the two of them to get in point-blank range right up next to him. He then strikes InuYasha in an over-the-head swinging motion with the sharp side of the sword. The attack splits InuYasha straight in half, killing him instantly. And last of all is theory number 4. InuYasha draws his sword and starts swinging at Kenshin. He misses the first couple of swings and Kenshin counterattacks, but he only glances InuYasha's arm. The blow only hurts InuYasha, and after being thoroughly annoyed and angered that InuYasha can't hit this guy and that he's actually hurting him, InuYasha says, "Screw this," and draws out his sword and goes, "You are really starting to annoy me. Here, try dodging this. Wind Scar!" And with that, InuYasha unleashes his deadly Wind Scar technique. Kenshin, being too close to dodge it, Kenshin sees it coming, but unfortunately is too close to dodge it, and he tries to block it, but unfortunately this proves to be utterly useless, and he's hit with the full force of the Wind Scar, just being ran over, and it kills him right on impact. If you're wondering why InuYasha didn't use Adamantium Barrage, it goes underneath what I like to call Dragon Ball Z logic. A lot of shows do this. InuYasha, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach are just to name a few. They don't use the higher power settings to kill the enemy unless they absolutely have to. Ichigo doesn't go Bankai for every single Hollow he ever fights. Naruto doesn't pull out the Fox every time he gets into a fight. He only does it when he absolutely has to. And Goku doesn't go Super Saiyan 3 to beat up every single guy, and InuYasha doesn't use Adamantium Barrage before he'll use the Wind Scar. It's just not how he works. Well, guys, that's it for this week. Sorry about the delay for my videos. My computer's been crashing on me, and I've had some personal issues. And I also just started a new job. I work 12-hour days, so that's another reason why it hasn't came out yet. I'm going to keep trying to do this so long as my computer will run, and if I have to get a new one, I will. If you guys have anything you would like to see on Pondering Theories, go ahead and leave it in a comment or video response. I will take it into consideration, and you might even see it. And let me know if you guys do it like this or tweet this. Don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys all next time.